Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Direct Sales Done Right podcast. It is Melanie Mitro. I am the co-host of this show and I am flying solo today, but I have a very special guest on the podcast. Lacey Hansen is an incredible human being, and I had the opportunity to really get to know her last fall. Was it you were in the fall Rockstar Recruitment Course when I very first launched it, right? Am I right on that,
Yes.
Lacey?
Yeah.
So about a year, because it's been a full year since the course has been open. And so Lacey came in, she was one of my course students, and I've really gotten to know her. I got to meet her at our annual company convention in July or June, I guess it was. And I really fell in love with her work ethic inside of the course. She really stood out as a student who wasn't just in there to learn, but she was really implementing the things that I was teaching. And she also was adding value to the group. So she was sharing what was working. And I've watched her not only crush it during that 8 weeks that we were together inside of the course, but she's also gone on to hit the rank of 2-star in our company in Body. And that really allows her to open up a secondary business center. She's also gone on to be on the road to Elite she's a premier team at this point. So on the road to Elite, sort of working towards becoming an Elite partner. Premier is an incredible milestone. It really does say that she's not just out there selling the product, but she's actually growing a team, and she has growth year over year. And Lacey also really doesn't have, she's been married for 12 years this month. She's a mom of 2, and she's actually, well, you will be a mom of 2 at the end of October. She's pregnant. She's about 5 weeks away from her due date. So she's accomplished a lot in a very short period of time. And one thing that you shared with me is just not having like a ton of support, like a big support system. So today I just want to have a candid conversation about, how are you growing in 2023? What are the things that you really had to change? So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And, you mentioned I didn't have an upline, but you were my virtual upline from afar, even though you didn't know I existed. And I always tell my team that. So I'm just so happy to be here.
That's so cool. Well, here we are, kind of full circle moment right now. I'm interviewing you and putting you on the spot. So will you just start out by introducing yourself, just how you got started in network marketing and why did you decide that you wanted to build a team?
So I got started in network marketing kind of accidentally, just like in 2017, I wanted to get fit. I found these home workouts. I really fell in love with them. And my husband was like, hey, you should get the coach discount so we can get the shake for cheap. And I was like, oh, but I really do like these workouts. I wonder if I could make this a fun hobby. But I didn't really at that point in time have like a desire to, quit my job or have any sort of like real why in the back of my mind that pushed me to actually build a business. And so it wasn't really until I had my son in 2018 that all of a sudden it's like everything became clear to me of what I really wanted in life. And, I imagine I just heard this analogy the other day where in the beginning, it was kind of like the road to success for me was, being on this like 10-story building, and success was on the other side. And it's like this 2-inch beam. And for me to get across, it was like, I didn't have a strong enough reason to go across that beam. It was like someone on the other side was like waving a $20 bill in front of me. And that, like, not that that's all I made, but that's all my why was. And so when my son was born, it was like, my son is on the other side in a burning building, and I will do whatever it takes to get across that 2-inch beam, whether I'm crawling or whatever, with like fear gone, because that fire was just inside of me to quit my job, be home with him, and have that freedom and flexibility to live my days how I wanted with who I wanted. And so it wasn't really until late 2018 that I decided to actually build a business and go for it. And I decided, well, at that point in time, all of my upline coaches from when I first had started had gone into bigger and better things, quit, they moved on. So I had no support. And so for a very long time, yes, I built the majority of my success on the commission side of things. And, you know, I was able to quit my job off the commissions, and I always knew I wanted to build a team, but I didn't know how. I'm not a natural born leader. I felt like the people who were successful are the ones who just have that natural leadership ability. So like, I just kept feeling like I was a hamster, you know, on a wheel, just spinning my wheels, just going. And, you know, you can only take the commission side so far. And so it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that I decided to be the leader that I never had. And I dove into some leadership books. That's kind of where it first started, with listening to some leadership books, doing leadership type things that even though I didn't feel ready or feel like I was a leader, I just did the things. And then I just started investing in myself with the Rockstar Recruitment Course. And that's kind of how things, you know, started, is from a year and a half ago. And then especially a year ago when I did the course.
Okay. So what, as somebody that sort of stepped in and said, I want to become a leader. And I know that a lot of people, this is where they're at right now. They don't feel like a leader. So what were some of the things you listened to early on, and some of the books or podcasts, or what were those things?
So John Maxwell was, you know, my go-to guy.
Yeah.
So I would just be on walks listening to him. So Leadership was the very first book I listened to. So that's the one that I always suggest to people. And then like he has quite a few more, but starting with that one, or the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is another great one. But, you know, when the things that you listen to and fill your mind with is like what you become and like what you believe about yourself. And so I knew, because I mean, in the body world, we're always talking about personal development. And so I had to shift my personal development to what it is that I needed to grow in. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what I started with as far as what I was listening to.
Okay. So you really started to say like, okay, if I want to become a leader, I need to act as if I am already that person. So you started listening to personal development and decided you want to build a team. So what was your business like before you actually started with the Rockstar Recruitment Course? Where do you feel like your biggest challenges and struggles were?
So I probably would recruit maybe 6 to 8 people every year before the Rockstar Recruitment Course. So most months it was no people, you know, sometimes it was one. So just, you can't really build any sort of momentum, because we know that this is a numbers game. People will come and people will go. So to have any sort of like take off, to get off the ground, you have to have momentum. And so it wasn't working for me. So that's kind of where I was. I just felt like I was spinning my wheels and just going nowhere.
Yeah. And your income's not growing, and you're just kind of replacing people, you know, that are falling off. And so like, it just kind of feels like stagnant, right? For sure.
Yeah.
So once you started going through the course, what would you say, what were the things that you changed that inside of the course and through that experience, that, you know, what were some of those big aha moments that you had, things that you weren't doing before that you started to do that were helping to build that momentum?
Well, in the course, you talk about like niching down. And like for me, I just kind of wanted a warm body. So I would just be very loosey-goosey about anybody can do this. And I wouldn't really talk about the hard work. And it's like, no, I had to switch the verbiage. Like it really matters what you say, because it's going to speak directly to the person that you want on your team, or to the person you don't want on your team. And so I started changing my wording to talk about the hard work and the hustle, and the fact that I got up at 4 a.m. for, you know, a year straight. But like, yes, now I have all the time, but it took a season of sacrifice to be able to quit my job. So I talk about the hard, about how I fit it in the pockets of my day, and talk about who it is that I'm looking for specifically, you know, which is basically me. Like I literally just posted this in my stories today or yesterday, saying like, is this you? And I said a quality about me. And I did another story, and I said, I did like 2 or 3 stories of, is this you? And I said, if this is you, then you are me, and I want you on my team. And it's, you know, it's because you do want someone who is going to have the same work ethic as you, the same, you know, values and same stage of life, because those are going to be your lifers and the people who want to run with you, versus the people who are loosey-goosey. They just want a quick buck. They don't want to work, and they just, say they're going to join and then literally do nothing. So.
Right. Yeah. I think speaking to niching down, people get really nervous to niche down because they don't want to cut anybody out for sure. But then you really get the workers when you're speaking and you're being really bold. I find that being bold in who you want to work with and almost thinking about repelling the people that you don't want to work with, the people that are just looking for the easy button or the people that give excuses. Like you almost want to say things that are offensive to those people so that they don't even sign up with you, because when you just want a warm body, you literally take anyone and you end up having a room with low energy. And that burns leaders out very quickly, and they start to resent their business because they're not enjoying the people that they're getting to work with.
Yeah. And I would also say another thing that I changed is my marketing strategy. I've had people on my team in the past, come to me and say, how come when I post this type of a post where it's a call to action, I get like no engagement? Does that mean that I don't post those types of content? Because when I post funny reels, I get 100 likes. I feel like I need to keep doing the things that are getting engagement. Mm-hmm. And I want to say it was Katie Erst, I heard, your business partner, that I heard her say like in some sort of a reel lately where she's like, the year that I had the lowest engagement was like my highest sales, because I was actually posting the content that could convert people to sales. So that's something that I have also done is I do a 2-week marketing strategy for, the products and programs and commission side of things, and a 2-week marketing strategy for the business. And it's not just, once in a while, it's like full throttle, like every day in my stories, I'm talking about it. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm not posting my workout for the day or all those things, but it's just that I'm focusing heavily on the business opportunity. But another game changer for me as of late has been actually posting in my news feed more. So with it, like I've had more people fill out the link in my bio. I just had someone join my team this month who found me through a reel, because the stories are great because that serves your audience and those are your, current loyal followers. But like what I wasn't really doing before was putting it out there for new people to find me, where they may just jump into the opportunity, before even, knowing anything about my company or anything like that. So posting that content, yes, you can still have the funny reels and, all those things, but making sure that you're doing those call to action reels and showing a day in the life, addressing objections, and finding people there as well.
Yeah. I love that you shared that, because that's something that I address with people on a daily basis. They get so nervous about posting a call to action about the business opportunity on their feed because it doesn't get very good engagement, and it doesn't always, do well. And so they sort of like try it and then they don't. And so I think sometimes people psych themselves out because they're really looking at their social media and they're looking at their metrics and they're like, it's not working. But the one thing that we always talk about is it's working as long as people are inquiring, they're asking for more information, they're filling out a form. So do you feel like you had to trust the process? Were you ever, like when I was teaching that part about how often you actually share on your feed about the business opportunity and those calls to action, did you ever think like, you're crazy, Melanie, this isn't going to work?
No, I don't think so. I've always trusted you.
Okay, good. Because I do sometimes think people look at me and go, I'm not doing that. That won't work, And so people do psych themselves out. They don't actually take action because of it. And then they're not recruiting people to their team. So yeah. Okay. So posting, how often are you posting about the business opportunity when you're in that marketing flow? I like to ask that question because I get asked that a lot. So how many, when it's that 2 weeks, how often is it call to action? How often is it about the business in some way?
So in my stories, it's daily, Monday through Friday, is kind of my thing with stories. I always take Sundays off, and Saturdays are a little bit more loosey-goosey for me. But I every single day in my stories, Monday through Friday, and then in my news feed, I'm talking about or having a hard call to action like twice a week. Okay. And then I try and make sure I have some sort of value in there, whether it's tips or advice or healthy recipe or funny meme. Like I built, like my following has grown because I've done some of those entertaining reels. So those I think
Yeah.
if that's your niche and if that's you, that's important. But like for me, I've noticed that it's worked for me. So you got to find what works for you.
Good. Good. So consistent, very consistent every day in the stories, really showing up a few times a week. So from going through the course after you started, you said you had recruited maybe like 6 people in the entire year. What now is your monthly average that you strive for?
So I strive for 3 a month, 3 to 5, and I am averaging about 3. So obviously, like I can't remember if it was you or someone else I told I'm going to take the Rockstar Recruitment Course over again because like I kind of need a refresher. And you also said there's going to be new content like that. Maybe you have new tips this time around. So I'm going to go through it again. But so there's always room for improvement. But compared to where I was, I've quadrupled. However, like last year in the first 8 months, I recruited 6.
Yeah.
I believe. And so the first 8 months of this year, it's been 24. So that's quadrupling, my production from last year. Yeah. And I also, for income wise, I did a little calculation. I'm earning 66% more this year than I did last year, which is a great payoff for that investment to kind of get things, moving in the right direction with my business moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, that's huge. That is a huge increase. And those 24 people that you've brought in, obviously you have some that have developed into some leaders. So you've got some emerging leaders on your team. And because you're talking about the business opportunity, they're looking at you, you're actually setting the pace and the standard of what people should do as to how to build a business. So it's not like you have an organization that's only talking about the customer experience. You are very balanced in that approach too, which is awesome.
Yeah. And we're working toward elite this year, I told you. And, yes. I have a couple people who are, kind of on the brink of, hitting that. And so, yeah, it's just exciting to see this. I feel like I'm off that hamster wheel now and I'm finally like moving forward. And I feel like there's a lot of people who can probably relate to me because I've been a coach for 6.5 years, which is, longer than some to hit 2-star and to hit premier. And I feel like some people can relate to that because you go year after year saying, I'm going to hit this big goal. I'm going to hit this big goal. It never happens. But sometimes it's just about taking that next step and doing something you've never done before to actually, propel yourself to the next level. And so that's what I did. And it's finally working. And I know to get to a lead, I'm probably going to have to, keep investing in growing in leadership and all that myself, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And so
right.
That's what I found.
I agree. It's so important. And okay, so from a team perspective, what do you feel like have you shown up differently? Are you a different mentor because of your experience, in terms of the course? Like, how are you mentoring differently because of the information you've learned? And what are you going to do over the next couple of months to actually get your team to that elite rank?
Yeah. So I feel like, just number one, the leadership books have made me a more confident person. Number two, the fact that when you take action, that creates confidence because you see the results that you were wanting to see. So confidence in showing up on social media, confidence in mentoring my team is like way up. And so they're seeing me show up differently. They oh my gosh, it was so funny. Like, this is kind of random, but when we were at Summit, I was getting ready in the bathroom. Summit is our coach, annual event for anyone who doesn't know. And I heard the girls, because we stayed in the Airbnb, and they're like, Lacey's like the cool girl that you want to be friends with. And I was like, because I was never the cool girl in high school. So like, they actually like are looking up to me like as someone that they aspire to be. And like, that just made me like just tear up because I was never that person in high school. I was kind of like middle of the pack, never really stood out. And so your confidence really soars when you see your action, produce results. And so I feel like that the confidence I've gained from just seeing the results of this year, especially, has just made me show up differently when I'm mentoring my team.
I love that. Have you ever had imposter syndrome?
Yes.
You
And
know,
even sometimes, like if it's like, oh, I didn't have that great of a week financially this week, it's like, oh, I feel like an imposter. But then all of a sudden the next week I have a really great week. So it's like that's just kind of comes and goes. There's going to be highs and lows.
how do you push yourself past that, when you have a low? Because, it's easy to let it take you out of the game. It's easy to keep you from showing up in your business. Like, what do you do to navigate through that, to just stay mentally strong? Because I feel like our business is very much a mental business more than anything.
It is. Number one is just personal development. Like I have like a podcast in my ear going like every single day. Your Women Inspiring Women podcast was what I listened to during those, really couple years of grind and hustle. Like when I didn't feel like getting up at 4 a.m., it's like I had just listened to you the previous day, and like that was my fire to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
So PD is like my number one thing for those lows. Like if I'm feeling a low, because it still happens, I listen to some PD, and all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
And and I also understand the process too of like, okay, maybe I had a low income week, and I can kind of, foresee that, oh, it's especially because I'm talking about the business opportunity, I'm not going to have as many sales this week, so I can see it's a smaller, like going to be a less income this week.
Yeah.
So I was just telling my team this, I was like, I can either, take this week and just kind of pout and just like, let my residual income come in because I know I'm not going to get any new commissions anyway, or I can push really hard this week. I can add more people. I can invite more people. I can connect with more people. I can follow up with more people and show up in my stories more. And that work that I'm putting in this week, yeah, maybe I won't see the fruit of my labor, but I will next week or the week after or a month later. And so I let them know that. And I was showing up and letting them know I sent 30 invites today and I did this and I did that. And they could see the fire in me, even though they knew it was one of those valley weeks for me. They knew that that's what I had been going through, but I was still showing up and showing them that I'm still being disciplined to show up in the valleys, because when you show up in the valleys, you're going to have more highs, more mountaintop moments.
It's so true. It's so cliche, but it's like the speed of the leader is really the speed of the pack, and I said this in my podcast this week. I'm like, your team is watching you. And if you don't show up, if you're having a bad week, or if you're checking out because you're having imposter syndrome, you're basically telling your team how to respond to adversity. And so by you being super transparent with your people and saying, my paycheck is low this week, but I know this is a part of the process. And by you actually showing up and saying, this is how I'm working through it, you're modeling that behavior to them. And not everybody is gonna follow your lead. Some of the people are probably going to go, yeah, I'm not doing that. But the right ones are really saying, like, that motivates me. I'm going to go do what Lacey's doing. Yeah, you know what? I am having a crap week too, but what would Lacey do? She would send 30 invites. And so you are setting the pace for how to handle adversity. You're educating your downline on there are going to be highs and lows. So you're not sugarcoating it and saying everything's rainbows and butterflies. You're being really honest. Those are great characteristics of just being a strong leader, and empowering people on the journey. So that's really awesome. I love that. I love that you're doing that. So, in terms of just empowering your team, there's a goal that you're working towards. And obviously you don't want success to stop with you. You have seen a 66% increase, since you started doing the course, and you've had so many advancements. So how do you, what are some of your continual team building tips so that this continues? What is that driving force for you? Why do you keep showing up? What is the legacy that you want to leave? And how do you plan to lead your team through the last quarter of the year?
Yeah. So, I just know what this has done for me and my family. And every single day I wake up just so grateful that I'm home. And for this baby, I actually don't have to leave him and go to a job like I did with my son 5 years ago. So I know what it's done for me. And so that's just the driving force for my team is I want you to have the success. And I know all of their whys, and I know what they need from this, and how it could change their life. And so it's just a driving force to to kind of leave that legacy of it not just being me having success, but success for my team as well. And so when you say team building, did you mean like, what am I doing with my current team or recruiting?
Yeah. What are you doing personally? What are some of your like 2023 current team building tips that you're doing in your business right now?
So I am actually doing something that has really helped my team, and that's having little like chat pods for people based on their goals. And I heard this from Jess Dukes at Summit. She's also a body partner. And she basically said, like, you know, because some people, they want to do this as a hobby. They're just, you know, they just want to make a paycheck here and there. There's some people who are joggers and there's some people who are runners. And so, you know, getting clear on who your walkers, joggers, and runners are. And that's how you mentor them, because I want to spend the majority of my time with the runners. And it's not that I don't care and love about the other ones, but, you know, I just have to delegate my time wisely. And so with my runners, especially like every single day, it's not like, oh, a Thursday weekly check-in. How is your week gone? It's a daily check-in. I sent this many invites today. Here's what I did. You know, I drank my shake. I did my workout. I connected for 20 minutes, you know, so we're saying every single day, this is what I did today. So it's accountability. And it's also extra recognition, because people just thrive on that. So instead of in my team page, just doing a weekly recognition of, you know, a leaderboard, it's you ring the bell. We have this little like picture of a bell. So anytime you have someone sign up, you post that little picture, just have someone sign up. And so we're cheering each other on. So that's really been a game changer for me and my team, is just having that daily interaction and getting to know each other like daily every single day. And rather than just like kind of like, I feel like a team page is a little bit less, you know, one-on-one, you know, because you take people through your new coach mentorship or whatever, but then it's like, you don't want to lose contact with them. And especially when it comes to your runners. So just really taking the time to develop those people who want this and who communicate to me that, I am willing to do the work, and I want to be part of that chat pod and, you know, reach for diamond and, you know, beyond.
Yeah. How do you manage your time and the responsibilities? Like, how do you manage just your personal business and growing that with mentoring your team?
Well, I've always heard from you, I want to say that you say, you know, 80% of your time on your business, 20% on your team. So that's kind of the philosophy that I've kind of always adopted. And so, you know, I still spend the majority of my workday doing those vital behaviors that are going to move my business forward, which also, you know, which help with the commission side and team building side, but then also, you know, mentoring or one-on-one with my team as well. So I definitely am spending the majority of my time on my own business, because that's just the only way to keep seeing growth.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I hope that everybody that's listening just really pauses on that specific part too, is if you're wanting to grow your team, you're wanting to recruit people, yes, you have to set aside space for those people and to mentor them. But the most important thing that you can do is keep adding to your funnel, because you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. Somebody could decide tomorrow that they don't want to work the business anymore, or somebody, you know, says something negative to them and they cancel their account, you know? And so it's like always saying, who do I have in queue? Who are the people that I am talking to, that I'm enrolling? We just always need to have this up and coming group of people. So I love that you are so focused on that. I find that most people, once they get to a leadership rank in the company, they just stop. They stop and they focus just on their team, because that's fun. That's what feels easy. But that also, I always say, like, that's when the caution lights come out, and you should definitely you should get a little nervous if you're moving in that direction. So I love that. So, you know, going into having your second baby, how do you plan to keep up the cadence of your current business and have a second child at home, an infant?
Yeah, well, and obviously, like, I'm blessed that I can actually, like, I'm going to be recovering from a C-section. So I fully plan to, you know, kind of recover, not for like a super long amount of time, because it's like, I'm home. I can literally be having the baby nap or nurse and be on my phone on the couch, building my business. So it just really comes down to the discipline and the habits I've created over the past several years. They're just so ingrained in me. Like, it's weird to have a day Monday through Friday where I'm not showing up, you know, unless I take the day off or whatever. But but it's just so ingrained in me. And it just comes down to that consistency. And how do you create consistency? You create it through discipline. So I'm probably going to be biting at the bit to postpartum, just like start posting in my stories. And it's like, yeah, I can't show up and work out, because like that's part of what we do as coaches, right? Like I'm showing up every day in my stories with a workout. So it's going to be at least, 6 to 8 weeks before I can even do like light yoga or anything. But there's other ways I can show up. There's other ways that I can inspire people and show that I'm still running my accountability groups, and show all of my moms in my fit community that, that they're showing up and I'm cheering them on and I'm still running a business, from the comfort of my home. And then that just goes into the business building side, where it's like, I'm building a business while I'm nursing my, 10-day-old baby or whatever. So yeah. So you can find ways around it postpartum, I feel like, but yeah, I'm just going to be taking advantage of the naps and just, instead of going and watching Netflix or scrolling my phone, I'm going to be building my business, because that's just the habits I've built over the years of just having that short-term sacrifice for that long-term success.
Yeah. Are you an Enneagram 3 by chance? Have you ever taken?
I am. I'm a mixture of 3 and 9.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just the structure and the go-getter sort of mindset and the habits, like those things have really, that was what made me go, she's got to be an Enneagram 3, like the achiever in you, the organized. I love that. I love that. And just like taking note, you guys, like as you're listening to this podcast today, like, okay, let's evaluate your habits. Let's like first evaluate, like where are you spending your time? What are you spending your time on? Are you avoiding the posting on social media? I mean, Lacey, you were so crystal clear about, I follow the marketing plan. I follow the marketing plan. I'm talking about the business opportunity for 2 weeks. So, the first step to you really getting your business on track with team building is just evaluating your habits. It's evaluating what you're avoiding. It's asking yourself, am I really doing the work that's going to produce results? And the other thing that you really shared was, you aren't afraid to invest. You aren't afraid to, and I think so many people right now are sitting here going, I would love to do the Rockstar Recruitment Course, but I just don't have the money, or I'm afraid to invest. So, what would you say to that person that's like thinking about doing it, but maybe has never invested or is afraid to invest?
Well, I mean, with the 66% increase that I've had this year, like I know that it wouldn't be that vast if it wasn't for these steps that I've taken to recruit to my team, because, I wouldn't be a premier team at this time either, because I wouldn't have found some of those leaders of, being up and coming. And so I just think that sometimes you have to take that leap of faith, knowing that you're never going to get off your hamster wheel if you don't step off the wheel and try and get out of the cage, So that would be my tip, is to just ask yourself, how many more years do I want to just keep going in circles, or am I ready to actually, take it to the next level?
I love that. I love that. All right. So what's next for you? Big vision. Where's Lacey going from this point forward?
So obviously I want to work toward elite. That's something we're working on this year. And it's kind of, if it doesn't happen this year, I know it's going to happen next year, but, especially with my baby, but we're working really hard. And that's just something that it's so crazy, because I would be that newer coach saying, I'm going to be an elite coach this year. And I'd been struggling emerald and diamond for so long. But like, once you finally start taking those smaller steps, like for me, I just kind of had to mentally take the step. Okay, I just need to get to 1 star first, and I need to get to 2 stars. So it's like, I kind of had to take those smaller steps, to get there. So elite is on the vision board. We want to upgrade our home, and build our dream home in the next few years. And of course, my son is now in private school. And so we want both our boys to be in private school, which is not cheap. And so that's on our vision board as well. So that's kind of where I see myself going. And I always, I never really want to be that full-time coach either. Like, I have worked this 20 hours a week for the longest time, and that's all I ever want to do. And that's okay. So just know that you don't have to be a full-time coach to see success. You can be very intentional about the hours that you're putting in, and just like let your little fingers fly as fast as they can. to see, you know, a significant income. And so I want to continue to work 20 hours and have that time flexibility to just make memories with my family. So I'm just forever grateful for this company. I'm forever grateful for you and, you know, your mentorship, and to finally have been able to meet you, you know, this year in person at Summit. And so I'm just thankful for everything, you know, that you've invested in me over the years.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I love that. I love that your vision is to be a, you know, network marketer in a body partner who works this part-time, but makes a full-time income, has the ability to make that decision for your family. And it's your reality because of your habits, your work ethic, your discipline, the way that you just attack any self-limiting beliefs and you push yourself through it, and just the way that you're really committed to your growth. You just are a great example, which is exactly why I wanted to feature you on the podcast, is because like you are doing the dang thing, and you are doing an incredible job at it too. And, you know, like I didn't even ask you to share. We have that Rockstar Recruitment Blitz that we did last week, and I didn't even ask you to share in there. You just went in there and were like, this is what I'm posting and this is what is working. And that's a great characteristic of a natural leader. So thank you for setting a great example as well.
Well, thank you. And yeah, and like I said, I didn't feel like I was a natural leader. It's just because I've been doing these things, it's like the leader in me is coming out, you know? Yeah. And like I'm in another text message pod with the West 2 to 4 star diamonds in the company. And I went in there this morning and I said, hey, I just had a couple objections this morning to the business opportunity. Here's how I responded. So it's like, and I did it with my team as well. And so like when you do leadership things, it makes you turn into a leader. So, yes. And so, you know, if you don't feel like the leader, just start doing leadership things. And the Rockstar Recruitment Course is a leadership thing. It is something that a leader would do, is they would invest in their business to move it forward.
Well, thank you, Lacey. Well, thank you. All right. If you guys are listening to this conversation today, head on over to Lacey's Facebook or Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Lacey, Lacey Hansen, HANSEN _.
Okay. So Lacey Hansen _. I'll make sure I link that in the show notes. Make sure that you tag Lacey and myself in this podcast episode. Let us know your top takeaways as well, because we always love to connect with our listeners. And if you're listening to this today and you are thinking, man, I really need to be a part of the Rockstar Recruitment Course, we will drop the link in the show notes. We are kicking off with our very first Q&A session the first week of October. It'll run for 8 weeks. We'll wrap it up right before we go into the Thanksgiving holiday, which is perfect timing. Talk about just like a fourth quarter push and momentum, and surrounding yourself with people that are movers, that are shakers, that are taking action, that have that vision for building that team. So you can check that out. I'll drop the link in the show notes. But Lacey, thank you for being my guest today. It's been wonderful to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, we will see you back here for another episode of the Direct Sales Done Right podcast.